I'm Anjana Appanna and this is Invisible Work, and I'm so glad you're back here joining us on a brand new episode. I'm also delighted to see the response we're getting for all the podcasts that you've already been listening to. Remember, hit that follow button on Spotify so that you get notifications for all future episodes, and also log on to invisiblework.mom to find out about other episodes and deals. And with that, let's move on to who we're actually chatting with today. As always, I have a very special guest for multiple reasons. One, because this mama is supremely talented, but also because this mama is one of my oldest and closest friends. And, this podcast could entirely become just a conversation between two friends who've known each other a long time, but I'm going to veer away from that instead and tell you about all the things she's achieved in her life. For one, she's got a dual master's degree, one from London Metropolitan University, and she also has a university degree from SM School of Business Management in France. And this mama went into doing brand and strategy and has worked with some of the biggest brands and biggest companies across India. Rhea Raghavan. Hi, Rhea.
Hi, Anjana.
It's so good to have you here. I'm going to remind you, I know we chat a lot even otherwise, but this time let's be professional, shall we?
I shall try.
Yes, it's very hard to be serious when the one person sitting opposite you knows so many of your secrets. So yeah, I shall try. You started your business as a brand and strategy consultant on your own after multiple years of experience, maybe 6-7 years ago?
7 years ago.
Right. And what's your company called?
So we're called the Strategista.
All right.
Strongly centered on the idea of a woman-led planning organization, and strongly centered around it being a strategy-focused organization, in a not even an organization but an outfit, a strategy-based studio where we help brands, individuals, companies sort of find their way out of either a conundrum where they may find themselves in a communication conundrum in terms of figuring out how to launch something or how to undo something that may have gone wrong, or sometimes we work with folks that might want to set up a brand in itself. So we work across various kinds of clients, people who are setting up, people who are already running organizations but want to sort of rejuvenate or revamp their persona, look and feel, how they're engaging with their customers, because all of us are changing. Our lives have changed so much in the last 10, 15 years. So we work with a wide variety of folks.
Right. But if I had to ask you, go back to the basics and ask you, what really is brand and strategy? What do you do exactly? Because it seems intangible, right? But I'm sure it's extremely effective. You've been working for so many years. So what is brand and what is strategy?
Let's start with how brands started out. Long ago, brands were meant to show a symbol of ownership, where you would brand a cow, brand a piece of land, brand a human sometimes back in the day, right?
Yes.
That is what brand used to mean back in the day. But today, brand means to associate meaning to something. And me, or people like me, or communicators, marketers, are trying to build meaning into an object, meaning into an experience, meaning into a product. And that's what branding essentially means. It means curating a series of responses, curating a series of actions that begin to put together a persona about you, about your product, about your company in your audience's mind. Because you must remember that the audience is constantly, sort of evolving, changing. Your mom was different from you. You are going to be different from your son's wife, etc. But a brand, say a brand like a Godrej or a brand like Apple, they've been around through generations. And how do they continue to stay relevant? They continue to stay relevant because they're constantly curating, shaping the pathways to get to you, to the stories that they tell you. And people like I help them sort of, shape these narratives, bring in layers of conversation, across different places that a person may interact with the brand. So that's where the brand would come in. And strategy is pretty much etching out that unique path for your brand or for your product, because one size doesn't apply to all.
And what are typically the ways to action something like this? Would it just be advertising, or would it also be, I guess, over the years, since the medium in which you can reach people has changed so much, there must be different ways that are short ways to action something like a brand and a strategy.
Absolutely. And there isn't a one platform fits. In fact, in today's day and age, you have to be everywhere, but you can't be everywhere with the same message and the same conversation. So there is a great amount of layering that you need to bring in by way of the nature of conversations, the place and position in life that you are sort of targeting a specific customer. What is your macro message? What are the micro experiences? It's not just about the advertising, but about the experience of the brand also, right? Someone may see a gorgeous Kareena Kapoor ad and walk into a Malabar showroom, but then what? What happens at the storeroom? What happens by way of their interaction? What happens by way of how the customer service representative talks to you? What happens by way of the way the gift is packaged for you and how you take it? What happens after? So there are very many parts to a brand's journey in a customer's life, not just in the awareness stage, but also in their usage and then recommendation stage. So how do we create nuggets, experiences, narratives that help, that seem relevant along the journey? Because again, like I said, there's no one size fits all. You may not be a user, somebody next to you may be a user, but the advertisement is necessarily talking to the whole universe at once.
Can you tell us some of the brands that you've worked with and how you've impacted those brands?
So sure, of course. So one of the brands that I've been working with for the last almost 6 years now is an ophthalmic manufacturing company. And while it sounds rather straightforward on paper, what it does end up doing is sort of helping millions across the world see better, be able to manage their cataracts much better because of the range of products that they produce. To me, the journey is specifically more important because I'm not just helping the brand sort of reinvent the way it would talk about itself to its Indian and foreign customers, but also the way that they're looking at themselves. Because this is a 30-year-old company that has worked a particular way, and today they're talking to a whole new customer across new platforms, and they also need to change the way they see themselves before they can communicate with the world outside. So it's been a really great learning experience as well. But this is one such company. Sometimes I get to work with folks that are starting up something. So the Druid Garden in Bangalore, for instance, was a brewery concept that came to the company that we were working with earlier. And how do we sort of position this company? How do we make a brewery, which was one of the 20 or 21st breweries coming across in Bangalore, something that was worth earmarking and going to and looking forward to? How do we curate a set of experiences that can then become a part of the brand's parlance to attract more customers? So right from naming, it's an interesting gig if one looks at it, takes a step back and looks at it, because I get many micro learning experiences. If I'm working with a brewery, I have to really deep dive into what is the competitive environment like, what do people really look for in that space. But cut to the opposite, where I'm looking at an ophthalmic manufacturing sort of setup, where I'm looking at what is a senior citizen with a cataract problem, what are his or her sort of limitations, who does he go to, what is a doctor looking for out of these partners. So I get to deep dive into many different universes, which to me as an academic pursuit is an extremely, I'm very fortunate to have it versus having to do one thing all the time. So there is, and then, like I said, I'm just trying to think of more examples to give you of brands and products. The India Sweet House is another one such experience, Bangalore-based brand that we've helped sort of set up from ground up, where we've, helped define their persona, what should the brand stand for, how does it present itself in retail, how should it present itself online. Again, the founders came to us with a vision to be a particular way, but how do we translate that vision into tangibles? That's how Strategista would get in helping people sort of shape who they want to be, position them vis-a-vis the market, and then give them the tools to sort of actually build out their communication going forward. And then I, of course, bring in various partners, whether it's a design partner or a web partner, to actually manifest the touch and feel aspects of the brand. However, defining the brand, helping them understand where the brand stands vis-a-vis other brands in the same space. How do we hold on to a continuous sort of strain of conversation, so that we're consistently showing up in a particular way that builds resonance in the kind of customer that we want to speak to. Recently, we worked with a leadership coach who came to us saying that, okay, I know how I am going to be working with the people that I work with, but how do I present myself? How am I different from other coaches, and what do I say about myself? So it's extremely interesting because, again, you learn so much from everyone that you work with.
Right.
But one thing that you find, a gap for, and where people like communicators or marketers, or more importantly, strategists can come in, is to help chart that pathway for a particular customer or an organization, so that there's actually a method to all of the chaos that they are going out into.
Is it harder to take a brand that already exists and that has visibility or has already had visibility? Is it harder to work on something like that, or is it harder to take something brand new, a startup, and then create its identity? What are the challenges, and what excites you more?
I think, to me, both are extremely exciting. It's always interesting to have a clean white slate, right? Like, it's always exciting to have that, but it also comes with its I would say guardrails, because then when you have a white slate, then everything is possible and everything remains open. So the process of strategy, unfortunately or fortunately, also requires you to work with the founder or the person behind the company or the effort, to also get them to have that mind shift. And hence, a lot of what I do is based in consumer research, putting together the research to show the company or the founders or the people that I'm working with why we are choosing or adopting a particular thought process or a particular communication narrative vis-a-vis another. It's not as simple as just taking what the most popular brand in your space is doing and doing a me too, because consumers are far smarter than that, and that's not the secret sauce to a sustainable brand per se. So a startup is interesting. However, I have come to realize that it's important that if, as a startup, have many dreams, have many aspirations, but a little experience goes a long way. And it's often better for companies that to sort of have that first 2-3 years of sort of trying out their ideas, figuring out their core MVP, like their minimal viable product, before they go out to spend money on branding it and marketing their initiatives. Because, like I said, the consumer is extremely smart and your competition is even smarter, right? But when it comes to sort of rejuvenating an existing brand, that to me is a much more interesting challenge, because there is history and there is a potential of a future to create, and there is that whole transformation that you need to go inside out. Technically, there are, of course, marketers and agencies out there, everywhere in the globe, and there are always two ways to do it. One way is to just take what the client says, translate it into a great looking creative and a campaign and sort of turn it around, and of course everyone's happy. But the other way is to also look at its relevance. How does it continue to sort of give back to the brand? How does it continue to create that resonance going forward? And for that, I think to know your consumer a little more closely is important. And perhaps sometimes it takes, it's not easy to say I'm wrong, but it is important to sometimes highlight that just because you've been doing something for 18 years or 19 years doesn't mean that that's the way to continue doing it, or that it even served you for the 18 years that you were doing something as a brand. And what I would have found is that often, especially in larger organizations or even in medium-sized companies, various stakeholders have various viewpoints of what their brand should be, and it's important to start at a unified place. So as a strategist, more often than not, my job is twofold, to really get everybody on the same page on the inside, so then we're actually being able to say the right things with the right sort of power behind it on the outside. Otherwise, again, it's so fragmented, and when it's as fragmented, and I'm sure you'll notice examples of it across communication here and there. It's easy to tell when a company is sort of approaching it fragmented vis-a-vis a singular POV. So to me, reworking or working on a brand and sort of rejuvenating it is an extremely rewarding and exciting process, because you learn so much from folks that are already coming with so much information and so much history. But having said that, of course, anything new is exciting. But I've always found, like I said, a little legwork before, spending on the leg room makes a lot more sense for new brands.
And I imagine that, like trying to get everyone on the same team must be quite challenging. It sounds a bit like school teacher.
Yes, it is. It is. It can be, and everyone is, of course, really has done their work and done their homework, and rightly so should have a place on the table to, extend their POV. And it's not just an Indian scenario, but I think when we are so close to our jobs and so close to what we do, sometimes getting that outside perspective or a macro picture is hard, and I get that, and that's a liberty somebody like me can have, because I come in to do just that, right? So I come in to have that holistic POV to say that I'm looking at all of this, and this is why this sticks out to me as not working. But say a marketing head of a specific department or a specific division or a specific domestic market or an international market will be very much focused on his slice of the pie or her slice of the pie, and how do we sort of help them pull back, look at the larger picture, or even sometimes the micro details that they may be completely glossing over, which could be just simple interventions that actually go a long way when it comes to engaging a customer or sustaining a customer's trust. So it's exciting to say the least. I mean, of course, it's not always pretty, but you win some, you lose some.
Yeah. But in today's, in the atmosphere that we currently live in, where the attention span is literally 8 to 10 seconds, how does a brand retain customers? How is a brand able to make sure that it gets the message that they're sending out reaches the people they're trying to reach, but also that they retain it? I feel like that's such a huge challenge.
No, it is, but I think a lot of the times folks get caught up in that one single post or that one single piece of message. Like I said, today we have to, by virtue of being a brand in 2025, you have to be multi-platform. You have to have layered conversations. It cannot be a one campaign happening in this month and a linear next campaign happening another month, because you have customers along the whole funnel. So it needs to be extremely layered. You cannot be putting all your eggs in one basket like our mothers and mother-in-laws often say, right? You have to sort of, invest consistently. Consistency is another important piece of the pie. A lot of the times brands, companies and individuals sort of focus on certain peaks of the year, like the festival time is a great one for the F&B industry or the entertainment industry, and the rest of the time is suddenly, it's a lot more of a lull, and even budgets are planned like that, and advertising and campaigns are planned like that. But I think you need to sort of turn that on its head and really look at how you are going to spend your money and your marketing efforts across the year, and more importantly, consistently. It's not about spending the dollars behind that one great campaign with a couple of great influencers, but it's about consistently showing up, consistently sort of harping on some of those messages. 1, 2, being the relevance. It's 8 seconds, maybe even 4 seconds is the most anybody gets. Even the biggest brands that are spending the biggest monies are getting, when it comes to the power of the scroll. But I think the relevance, if you are able to build in relevance, which comes from research, to know your customer, to know that, okay, yes, you can't just put everyone into a mom of 2 kids, parent, kind of a nice big box that, we used to do back in the day in advertising, where we used to be just, SECA, SECP. It's a lot deeper. It's a lot more chaotic. Just in a family of 4, there are so many personalities. Right?
Yeah.
So it's important to sort of consistency and relevance, I would say, are very, very undervalued, especially when it comes to marketing and branding, because that's where the connections happen. The scrolling will continue, but once the connection, happens by virtue of tapping into a reality of, say, a mom, sort of posse of friends, and let's find a truth there and tap into that, rather than continuously harping at her 9 to 6 days and her Durga Ma, persona. It's done, it's dated, and after a point it's vanilla and it's noise to the customer as well. You don't respond to it anymore. So it's really important to keep getting to know your customer and sort of stick to your guns when it comes to the relevance map that you're building for your specific specific brand.
We have a whole bunch of moms who are listening to us who also run their own businesses and enterprises. And I know it's a hard question, right? Because you are, in your head, you're already thinking of a strategy. But is there one thing that you can tell these moms who are working these great business ideas in their head, one thing that you think will enable them to actually reach a wider audience, just to put their message out?
And I do this myself, whether for my own, sort of efforts or brands that I work on. Draw yourself that ideal funnel. What does that look like? What do you want to do, or what do you want to say? Like, map it out, write it out, put your flowchart down, and very, very often just putting those aspirations and wish lists on a paper in a linear or flowchart manner will allow you to see pathways that you wouldn't otherwise see. And I know that it's kind of old school, but it really helps to just say, okay, this is where I am, this is where I want to be, and these are the potential ideas I have. But we've done this not just for businesses that we've run, but also for brands that we work for, where we've then been able to actually see the macro picture. So I would literally say, even if it's just a list, and it's a rather simple sounding solution, but even if it's just a list, put down even the simplest, the most impossible, or even the most like improbable ones, all down into the many steps you think you may need to take or you want to take to make your brand or your business a step forward. And I've for the 2.5 businesses that I have run other than Strategista, I've done that, kept it in front of me, and it pops out every now and then, where I'm like, this is when this idea will plug in, or this is when this will sort of connect with a specific person that is currently in my life, that this idea can help sort of come to fruition. So I would certainly say that map it out, strategize it out, like write it out. And you don't have to call it strategy, but you just write down your roadmap. And then you'll keep it in front of you, because that's the only time then you'll sort of start seeing the connections as they start happening.
Will it be prudent to call it the entrepreneur's journal?
No, I would say just the planner's wish list, I would say. Right? Just put down a wish list of things that you think are important to your business to happen. And then of course, you'll start connecting it to who can make it happen, how can I make it happen, when will it happen, versus a lot of the times what happens is, I think businesses, brands, even entrepreneurs like myself, we all start with a big dream, right? Like, I had a dream, right? And then suddenly everything has to start with that grand scale, and it doesn't. It really is about small iterative steps that you take, sometimes on a day-to-day basis. I've been doing this for 7 years, and 5 years in was when it finally struck me that step 3 on that flowchart that I had drawn in 2017 was actually going to happen then, because that was when I had the kind of client base, the kind of partners who could make that step 3 of my vision for Strategista come alive. So I would say, draw that road plan out, put it in front somewhere. I know some people call it vision board, and I don't vision board. I'm just saying, just make 7-8 boxes in a linear or a round format, and write down what you think you need to do for your brand, and the rest will fall in place more often than not.
Right. You mentioned your 2.5 other businesses, which I had totally forgotten about, but I should talk to you about one particular one that I thought was just so genius, and it was such a fun one. COU, or Couple of Us. Now, Rhea and her husband Siddharth started this lovely brand and activity idea called Couple of Us, which was what I want to say in 2014, 2015? Pre-COVID, right. So the idea was that, you get couples to get together with other couples and do a bunch of fun stuff, whether it is a bartending course or a picnic in the park. You and your husband curated the event. That was an idea that the both of you came up with, and you actioned for nearly, I want to say, till COVID, right?
About 4.5 years, and then of course COVID hit. But the idea was essentially to get couples out to do different things other than the things that they did every day. So when we ourselves were almost, I think, 5 years into our marriage, and we realized that, we were meeting the same people, going to the same bars, ordering almost the same food, and paying almost the same tab, and sharing the same jokes. And that's when we realized that we weren't the only ones. We spoke to a few other couples, and everyone was sort of in the same space. It was all exciting, the first few years of marriage, and then the dates become, the same places, and the convenient fallbacks, etc. And that's when we realized that even couples need a calendar of fun, right? Like it doesn't have to stop just because you got married. And that's, so we initially started out, a couple of us, for just the married folk, creating and curating an alternate calendar to their lives other than, school pickups and drops and mother-in-law visits and father-in-law hospital visits. We created a calendar that would include fun things, eclectic experiences that they could do together as a couple, and meet 5 other couples that would be there for us for the same experience. So what it allowed the couple to do was to do something together which was different from the ordinary, and should they not really find themselves being anchored by that specific experience, they always had like-minded folks who were also there doing the same thing. It was a wonderful community. We got together almost 150 couples across, I think, 90 experiences before COVID hit. I don't know if we'll ever bring it back, but it was more than a business. I think it was a large social experiment. And I mean, we've been fortunate enough to make so many friends through it, and also just sort of, really see so many relationships come alive, even if it was for an iota of, 2 hours or 3 hours in a couple of weeks, but so many new channels, so much energy sort of being, exchanged and shared. So that was an interesting experiment, I would say, not necessarily a business.
I would love for you guys to bring couple of us back. I mean, that was just so much fun. And, my tiny bit of modeling claim to fame is that I was on the initial few adverts that were put up on social media. What fun. I basically went for the picnic in the park, but someone pointed a camera at me and it turned out to look quite nice. But it's interesting to see how, you ran multiple businesses at the same time, right?
Yes.
And does it affect you more in that you have to manage this and that as well?
So that's an interesting one. I think I would say I've come to realize that now, I would say, fortunately, earlier I did not know so much, but I think I have come to realize that productivity and persistence are my oxygen. Like it allows me to feel like now I can sleep well if I have done 10 different things through the day. I don't know if it's a woman thing, I don't know if it's a mom thing, but it's certainly it's certainly a part of my DNA. And I think now that I've become a mom, it's just added more layers to that, like multi-purposeness of my being. However, it's always been interesting to just, I think the idea of getting it done was what used to, sort of drive me. And now it's not even a driver, it just has to get done. Yeah. But back in the day when, when we were doing couple of us and running this outfit, and of course, being all the other versions of ourselves that we have to be in all our multiple roles, I think it was nice to be able to essay that part of my life out, essay that wish that I had for myself to explore, a particular role, whether it was as a curator in the couple of us experiences, or as the host, or as a strategist. It was just nice to have an opportunity to essay that out. I think very few of us get that chance, and having had that chance, I wanted to give it all I could. Of course, it was tiring, and some days didn't end well, and some days ended really well. But it's, I think net, I'm so glad that today at 40, I can turn around and say, I have tried it and it was wonderful, or I have given it a shot versus, not even tried it. Yeah. So to me, that was what was exciting, to persist through it all.
Yeah, that's awesome. Speaking of being a mom, Rhea's a mom to an absolutely adorable 4-year-old. His name is Cyrus. How has motherhood changed or shifted your pursuit of productivity? And, how has it kind of changed you or impacted you as a person, as a businesswoman?
Okay, let's see. As a person, of course, I think it has, in my pursuit of productivity, it has added a lot many more pursuits that I have to continue to be productive at, because clearly reproducing was not enough. However, no, I think, the first 2 years, of course, and I'm sure a lot of the mums will agree, hopefully, are just like chaotic, and it's like a large dark tunnel, and you just never think you're going to come out of it.
You're just groping in the dark.
Yeah, just groping at the straws, and you're just like hoping that you're doing the right thing and that you'll survive and that you'll wake up the next morning, etc. But having finished those 2 years and now 4 years in, I just feel like it has added another whole facet of, capability in terms of, productivity. Because now I think the difference in this kind of productivity is that you can't be like, I'll do it tomorrow, right? You just gotta do it today. And you know what? You can't not wake up tomorrow, because you just gotta wake up tomorrow, right? So I think the lack of choice that, and it's not in a bad way, but I think the lack of, flexibility that motherhood sort of imposes on you, I think it's because motherhood is a by default position. At least I believe that between parents, the mums are to a large extent default parents for a large period of time, right? The default parent. So there is no option of just switching off, switching on. So that multi-purposeness has to just get extended and sort of walks into every part of your life, especially more so after you become a mother. I've harnessed some of that into my work and into sort of micro dosing when it comes to work, and saying that, okay, I have 2 hours and let me see how best to use these 2 hours, and then I have 4 hours where I'm potentially being half mother, half something else. But during that time, a lot of the work happens in the head. So I've now started to section my day around his schedule to see, okay, work super hard during the times that he's out, and then move the thinking pieces or the reading pieces or the listening pieces of my research to the parts of the day that I know I'm not going to be able to be in front of a computer. Because the other prerogative, or the mom's guilt or the woman's guilt, or the guilt, because that we have so much of it, you can give it any name you want.
Oh boy, that's true.
But sort of just you also do want to do right by them, right? Because they also have just that many years of being young bubbles, and then they'll just become self-sufficient human beings. So I want to do right by him. Fingers crossed, right? I mean, at least my flowchart for him is in place. I'm just going to make sure that I'm giving him the right sort of attention at the right time as well. So it's hard. It's certainly hard, and it's extremely chaotic. But
right. And do you have any tricks that you use to kind of stay focused while working from home?
I think I used to try to believe that I did have like these really, this is how I'm going to work it out. But the one thing that motherhood has taught you is that nothing works as planned. And that is the best lesson to work your day with, is to know that nothing you have planned is going to work out. And when you do that to yourself, then you're able to actually focus, because you're ready for the worst, right? So when on the days that I'm like, today I'm going to, plow through so much work and I'm going to get it done, cut to my son who wakes up with fever, and then I have to work with him alongside. So there's zero choice and zero control over it. And I've told many a girlfriend, who've either just gotten pregnant or have just had their kids, saying that, the one thing you got to lose is expectations for yourself and from others. And the moment you do that, I think stuff becomes a lot easier. And with work as well, I do that, where I know that, okay, you might focus hard when you get the chance, and the rest is
I say that to myself too. Accept the chaos.
Yep.
And color within that particular structure as much as you can. Because otherwise that sense of loss at not having achieved what you set out to achieve for the day is so,
it's heavy and doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help you,
and then it demotivates you for the next day somehow. At least in my case,
small wins all the way. And small wins at work, and they all add up, right? Like, 7 days into teaching your kid how to brush when he brushes by himself, you've got your sum of small wins. It's the same thing at work that I do.
What you said about branding, consistency matters, and so does it in parenting, right? Yeah. Tell me, you are online so much because you're reading about brands, you're probably looking at strategies employed by other countries, by other brands. I've known you for a really long time, and I know you love to just take in information, right? So you're someone who's constantly reading or listening to something, and you're also taking a lot of information about brands and how brands worked and all of that. How do you disengage from it all? Your mind must be just spinning with information, right?
Yes and no. Yes, because my mind's anyway, I'm always sort of, even if I'm not supposed to be working, I'm always looking for patterns, because that's like pathologically the problem for the planner, right? You're always connecting things, and you're always looking for the real humanity behind a human. So even if I'm sitting with a bunch of girlfriends who are talking about, oh, I did this, oh, I bought that, I saw this online, I'm watching this. In my head, I'm always like, okay, connect. This is that kind of person, works with that kind of a brand. So it's always on, and I don't think necessarily there's a way to put it off. However, I try to do, like you said, there's a lot of it that's coming from books and online or interaction. So the one thing that I try to do to really switch off is to work with my hands. So I'd like to sketch or weave or just do something with my hands where my brain is not necessarily required to be actively feeding what I'm doing. So when I say, that sounds really daft, but what I mean is that when I'm weaving, or if I were to be doing a lino cut, or if I'm doing a sketch or a doodle, it's just I'm letting the hand take over. I'm letting expression take over rather than a plan, right? And
right.
It's unplanned chaos, and that really helps me a lot because it sort of unanchors, unties a lot of wound upness overall, whether it's work, life, mother, etc. Just sort of doing something with my hands. So it's I tend to mostly sketch or work with like lino or clay or weaving, and it's not like there are art pieces at the end of any of this. It's just expression on something, and it gets it out of me, and it stays there. So that really has helped. I do boxing has helped a lot as well. I find that to be a great dopamine counter, but more than anything else, it's also just a place to sort of go release whatever it is. And every day there's a load to release, right? Whether again, sum of parts between work, motherhood, wife, daughter-in-law, there's so much to release. So physical activity is another one that I have found and gotten back to with a much higher sort of affiliation than I did before I was pregnant. Of course, one liked to be fit before, one got pregnant for aesthetic reasons, but now it's just literally to stay alive, right? If I do my boxing in the morning, then I know that, okay, at least till 2:33, no matter what happens, good, bad, ugly, I got this. So I think the physicality and leaning into it has been really helpful as well, in so many ways. The mind, the body, the emotions, being able to sort of focus.
So you kind of just punch and kick your frustrations away.
Just the frustrations, or just actually get dedicated time to think through something. Even if I'm just boxing, just being able to have a clear thought for more than 6 minutes is not something most mothers can say they get, right? You can't more often than not finish a sentence, especially when you have these toddler fellows. I don't even know what it gets like on the other side of this, but at this point it's very hard for me to complete anything when he's around, right? Whether it's a book, whether it's a sentence, whether it's a conversation. So just to be able to space out, whether it is boxing or running or where it is just me and one activity, and getting to do that, it's such a gift in today's day and
I
age.
realized for so many mums that exercise, which is something we all have to do because not for anything else but to be strong and fit, is the one time we all get to kind of just be on our own, whatever form of exercise, whether it's walking, running, or
and it's
going
so
to the gym,
undervalued,
swimming,
right? Because in today's world, you're expected to, if you're by yourself and with yourself, it's almost like, why are you not out? Why are you not connected? Why are you not on this, that quote unquote FOMO? But God, the FOMO of missing out, I miss me, right? And when I get that even 20 minutes to just put a pencil to paper and continue doing what I'm doing, it's such a reward.
And of late, I've been talking to so many moms, and a lot of them have been saying they actually turn off tech when they're exercising, which for me is kind of unheard of because I'm always listening to a podcast or music while I work out. But a lot of moms are saying that they just completely switch off everything else. No headphones, they're walking and they're connecting with their body, and it's that sort of rhythm that helps them stabilize for the rest of the day. And that's an idea I really like as well. Rhea, it's been such fun talking to you, but before we continue the conversation off air, I'm going to ask you for a few records. I know you love to read. So is there anything that you've read of late? I should also tell our listeners that Rhea has recently spearheaded a reading group in her...
Girls only.
A girls only reading group in...
Seemingly mums only.
Wow, even better.
We're called Na Reads, by the way, guys. It's as corny as it gets. It's called Na Reads. It's a bunch of 10 of us who try to read a book, and since we all have toddlers, we try to finish a book over the month, and mostly women authors. So it's we put ourselves in all the binds we can.
Yes, Na Reads instead. Na Reads indeed.
Na Reads indeed. But in terms of stuff that we may have read, that actually we've had one or two really terrible books that we had to finish and then met to discuss. But I would suggest one of the books that I've really liked recently, and I've told you about it as well, is Olga Tarzuk's Flights.
Yes.
And it's one of those books that I find
beautiful.
I mean, especially now when, like I said, because you don't have time to do a thing from end to end. The Flights is one such book. It's just a set of various essays, stories, POVs written by
almost
Olga.
episodes.
Yeah, almost episodes, but all based in transit and the idea of transit and the transience of transit. And she just writes, and she's not even a native English writer. She's a Polish writer, and just the nuggets that she sort of effortlessly drops about just the idea of transience. And I think motherhood and transience is again another one of those, I think that's why it sort of appealed to me as much. And I still keep it once in a while to sort of pick it up and read a specific chapter of it, because it just sort of throws you into this non-story, non-linear, non-drama slice of the world where you are just examining little nuggets, little nooks.
I found it fascinating because you can pick up the book at any time, any page, and there's an entire structure and something that really grips you. Flights is a fantastic book. Anything that you've seen recently that you enjoyed?
Okay. Well, I'm sure I'm not the only one. I've just recently become a Korean drama fan.
Oh man.
I cannot for some reason watch any more American drama about them saving the world, but I'm guessing that's most of the world. But Korean drama all the way for now, and there's some seriously good stuff out there, at least from a gripping thriller perspective. So I watched one called Queen Maker, which is largely again a bunch of women sort of positioning powerful women one against the other, and how do they sort of make the queen and let the queen sort of sustain her position, and not necessarily queen in the royal perspective, but more in terms of the society, and how do you sort of position yourself and how do you continue to sort of keep it that way. And Glory, what was it? I think it was Glory.
I think it's just the Glory, right?
Yeah, that was an intense and almost sort of scary drama, but again very
dark
interesting,
and gripping,
very dark, very gripping, but you cannot stop watching it.
And what I liked about the Glory, I think again you recommended it to me, is that for a Korean drama, it's really dark.
It is. It's extremely dark. I mean, I think a lot of the times when I say I've been watching Korean, a lot of folks think that I'm watching those, the lovey-la-di-da ones, which I haven't seen, unfortunately.
Romance.
I'm sure they're really good as well. But these two are both sort of semi-dark and very, very gripping and extremely interesting, because I feel like it's a slice of advanced sort of, societal interactions that I think we're all still getting to. Oh, another good one is called Celebrity. It's again another Korean drama which talks about influencers, but the Korean influencers, who are at least a million years ahead of ours in terms of where they are and what they're doing. So it's not necessarily it's a full out drama, again extremely gripping, and you learn a thing or two.
Yeah, interesting. And I know you love to thrift online. Thrift shopping is Rhea's middle name.
Yes. That's true. That would be my third vocation if I ever got to do it.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I encourage her is because I steal a lot of her wardrobe. So one Instagram page perhaps that people can access and is fantastic.
Okay, so I do thrift offline and online. Offline is far more rewarding, but I must say that 27% of my wardrobe is online thrifting. And Instagram has a lot of amazing accounts, a lot of the northeastern accounts. So they have great taste and they have great curations. But now off the top of my head, I remember one which is called Revival of Thrift. They have lovely stuff that they put together. I can't remember any of the other names at the minute, but I'm happy to send it to you.
Yeah, no, just send me your wardrobe. That's even better. Rhea, as always, such a pleasure talking to you. And
likewise, Anjana.
I wish you so much luck. And you, those of you listening in to Invisible Work, you can catch more of Rhea on her Instagram handle. You'll find her in the show notes below. That was Rhea Raghavan, and if you want to reach out to her and pick her brain on brand and strategy, you can email her at rhea@strategista.com. The details are in the show notes. Also, be sure to log on to invisiblework.mom because you can find out about future episodes and other amazing deals on there. And also, we'd love to get your feedback, so you'll find the link there in our show notes. Thank you for listening in. I'll see you in the next episode. I'm Anjana Appanna, and this is Invisible Work.